There we go. All right, so welcome, friends. Good to be here for a bit of a meet and greet with Joe and Lyra. Joe's official first day was just on Sunday, but he's already kind of had time to meet the whole 10th staff team. He had a full-on day yesterday with an onboarding day. How many different people did you meet yesterday, you think, Joe, in terms of the 10th staff?
I have lots. I met HR. I met ops, reception. Trying not to name names, but it's harder because I'm like, what do they do again?
I'm impressed.
I met the multi-site pastor.
Yeah.
So that was cool. I met was he Mount Pleasant? I met Mount Pleasant's pastor.
Okay. Yeah. The site pastor. Yeah.
Yeah. I met the second higher up. I think he's called the
David?
executive pastor.
We call him this second higher up usually. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That's
cool.
it. I'm gonna call him that.
Don't tell Ken. And then oh yes, I met with finance.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's important.
Yes, met with finance. And I think that's about it. It was a bunch of meetings, and of course I met with Dan.
But we set Joe up in, I don't know how many it was,
very
like probably 7 different meetings, like 15-minute intervals, just kind of boom, 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 boom. So we've really been trying to give him the water hose, kind of approach here of as much as you can try and handle. But honestly, Joe and Lyra, we've been thinking about you guys and praying for you before we met you. And it's been quite a process. Like we've talked about and envisioned this role ever since this little one was just 2 years old. And now you're 3, aren't you? Yeah. Want to head off with mom and head to bed? Say goodnight, everybody. All right, there you go. That's good. But we have been thinking about you for a long time and praying for you. And honestly, it's such a delight that you're here. It feels surreal and fantastic. And I know it's a lot to adjust to you as you come into a new city, into a new marriage, into a new study program and a new community. But all that newness brings up some new opportunities too. And we hope that it's not just a gift for us to have you in this role, but a gift for you guys, that you feel that you can come alive and be settled well into this new community. So welcome. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask Joe and Lyra a few questions, and then I'll open it up for anybody else, and also then for Joe and Lyra to ask us questions as well. The whole point of tonight is to kind of have a time to get to know Joe and Lyra and to talk a bit about youth at Westside, kind of how it's looking and where it's going in the future. So maybe for you both, Joe and Lyra, first up, what's one thing that you've noticed about the 10th community so far? What's one thing that's kind of stood out for you as you've witnessed our community? One thing you've seen.
I think one of the first things I saw, I think it was you or Annie who'd said, so this was before I was even known as before the week before I was introduced, essentially. You guys were like, okay, it's children's time, and then I see like kids jumping out of everywhere, and it was phenomenal to see. Slightly intimidating. I was like, oh my gosh, what are youth like now? So it was just like they were jumping out of everywhere, but it's just such a testimony to you guys as well, just to see how many kids attend 10th Church Westside. So I think that's one cool thing that I've realized. And I think it was the second Sunday I was there. I really love the worship. I really saw the heart of worship of the community, and that was something that I adored. And I knew that it felt like home from that experience.
I
That's
think that's
great.
so
Joe.
true. I've heard that from other people too, saying like, the kid factor you notice pretty quickly. There's lots of little ones around, kind of from that whole spectrum of babies to the older teens. And Danielle, credit to her for being our worship leader. She's got a great gift and she's coordinated a great team around her. So I think that's true. Lyra, how about for you? What kind of been some of the first things that you've noticed about 10th, or what's kind of got your attention that you've kind of seen?
For me, it's probably like the warmth and how welcome we felt kind of automatically as soon as we walked in the doors. There were smiling faces, and we've only been around for maybe 3 Sundays, but we already have started to feel like part of the community.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. That's great. Because like often these big changes are hard for that, right? Like when you've got new faces, like even Joe should remember names of all the people like he met today. It's tricky to figure out who's who, and then how do you build the friendship? I told somebody this last week that, as soon as you get out of, grade 4, it becomes hard to build friends. I'm like, how do you develop friendship? So we hope we can do that well together. Okay, Joe, how about like a future oriented question? Let's
Sure.
say it's a year from now and we've got a year under our belt. How do you hope the youth will talk about you a year from now? How do you hope they might kind of describe you as their youth director? What would you hope to hear? If it's a great year, what kind of feedback would you hear a year from now?
Oh boy, hopefully good.
Oh yeah, for sure good.
Or great. I'm gonna bring it up a notch.
Yeah.
I think I would like to hear that they've like one I've actually been thinking about this, but not this exactly. And I think my idea for them is for them to go from this level to this level by next year, just to one up their level. Like if it's a video game, just one upping their level. So I'd like to hear that Joe helped me explore Jesus. Joe helped me to one up my faith, to grow in it, and just to yeah, just to have something tangible from it. This is where I went from. I went from this to this in the span of a year, and I want to invite others to share in that as well. So I think that's really what I would like to see or hear from them. It's not about me; it's about them in the end. So
Ooh, good answer there. Hey, I like that. Flip it around. It's about the youth. It's true. And I like that part of kind of leveling up. That feels we want to be in that trajectory of growth for sure. How do we flip it around and say, what do you foresee as a potential challenge? So, we've got a wide variety of ages. A lot of the students don't know each other. We've got parents in different parts of the city. What do you think is going to be one of the challenges that you kind of foresee as a youth director for Westside?
they're all at different stages in either recognition of foundational Christian terms, whether it be worship or prayer, or what is their ecclesiology, or simply put, church, idea of church. So I think that the challenge can arise when the group may be moving ahead quicker than the rest that are staying back, or like that are not advancing as quickly. So like I have also thought of an idea for when that happens. So I've already set some goals for myself. I know it's like day 2 and I've set goals. From base I did a survey on Sunday to see where they're at and what they would like to learn. And I'm not sure if you're gonna ask me this later, but I'll just give them a spiel. So so I asked them this past Sunday, four questions, just to see where they're at. As I asked them what their favorite Bible story was, what are some faith traditions or practices they do at home, um, who Jesus is to them. And my last question was, what do you want to learn in the next year? What do you aim to cover? What question do you aim to cover by the end of the academic year? So from that little survey, I wrote down the answers, and I got a lot of feedback about prayer and evangelism. How do we talk about Jesus? How do we talk about our faith? How do we go about that? How do we pray? What's the correct way of praying? How do we approach this? So those are some items I'd like to work on: prayer and evangelism. And we'll see, the group of children, or I call them children, group of youth that were there this week weren't the same as the previous week. We've had like one or two people that were the same. So seeing that, I'd like to figure out, I think that could be a challenge as well, to see how to work with all the youth and not just a select few. So yeah, so basically my contingency plan, or not really, but it's something that I would like on a stage 2, is work on discipleship with them, disciple, mentor the older youth, but also give them the opportunity to disciple and mentor younger youth as well. So yeah, I'm not sure if that answers the question, but I forgot what the question was.
Totally right. Of the challenges. Yeah, because we do have
Okay.
a big range, right? When 11-year-olds and a 17-year-old, I
Mhm.
think that's smart. You can kind of use that way of having the
Yeah.
more mature care for those who are younger and
Mhm.
have integration. That makes
And that's
sense.
the model of the church too, right? We always want to be raising up the next generation, so that they can help lead the church, right? We want to see other leaders being raised up so that we can break up when we're too big, or whatnot.
Yeah, that's good. And then Lyra, we want to make sure that we support you well as Joe's spouse. We're not trying to like co-opt you as like, the other part-time youth director. But we want to make sure that, the community is a place of welcome and belonging for you as well. So maybe 2 bits. One, how do you feel about Joe's role as a youth director? And then 2, how could we be supporting you, or what would be some ways we could care for you personally in this season ahead?
Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of Joe starting to work with the youth and kind of the relationships that will kind of start to develop that way. I've seen Joe kind of more with like my nieces and nephews who are like really, really young. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he works with the teens and how you kind of have to relate and get your cool on to kind of relate to the youth.
Very cool.
I'm excited to see that. And in terms of me, I think you guys are doing really well and kind of not making me feel like the tag along, but also kind of starting conversations up with me and asking about me, and not just like Joe.
Nice. Oh, we mean it for sure. We hope there'll be a great spot for you guys as you figure out married life together. That it blesses you and encourages you as a couple to be part of the community for sure. Maybe kind of on that note around kind of being a couple, we got a lot of parents and youth leaders on the call here. What do you think, Joe? What are some ways that you hope that parents are working with you in the days ahead? What kind of support would you hope to see from parents?
I think just clear cut communication, just make it easy. And also, yeah, if you'd like to be involved too. I know when you're a teenager, you don't want mom and dad there, but it would always be nice to have you guys there as part of the picture as well.
Yeah, and I know that's been a big theme in the past too. Like, how do we get this communication pipeline working both ways, where where parents are well informed of what's happening with the youth, and that you and the youth team are well informed of what's working, what's not working for families and for parents especially too. And then maybe then as you break that down, what are some things that both youth and parents could expect on a Sunday night? So not to like lock into like, curriculum or content, but what sort of things would you want to have as part of the ethos or the routine of a Sunday night when the youth gather there at Westside?
Well, I expect Jesus content. I think what I expect too is like a conversation starter of faith, either at home or at least a practice of it in the everyday. Having been involved with InterVarsity and a lot of parachurch ministries over the years, I see the value of having Jesus in the everyday and not just on a Sunday. So I think that using that opportunity to do the groundwork, and then to break the huddle into the everyday week.
I love that, kind of like where it's not just like a spirituality that's contained, but that affects the whole of life. It's good. Getting your cool on to make that happen. I like that. I like that, Larry. It's a good phrase for it. And we've got Ashling is our family life pastor for all of 10th. So maybe Ash, can I throw you a question here as well to kind of loop us in? What are some ways that Westside youth, that Joe's with on Sunday, how can they link to other youth? Like, we're still smaller in terms of our numbers. Do we have any ways we could have critical mass engage and draw from what's happening in other places? Thoughts on that?
Yeah. We really highly value opportunities for youth to be in each of their sites and be able to be thriving, building relationships. So never wanting to be competing with that. But I see, what we have available on Friday evenings at the central activities as a time where we can really pull together more of the youth from our sites. We have a bigger set of volunteers and team. We budget that, we want for kids to be able to enjoy snacks and more worship. And we're really trying to offer a real mix of nights that are focused quite a bit more on worship or breaking out into kind of age level hubs or having just silly fun. This past Friday, I was not well and I wasn't able to be there, but I saw photos of students who competed to duct tape one another to the walls. And I'm just saying, there are things that happen in those bigger groups that will they be forgotten? I don't think so. So no, but just, time where we can have students also be able to blow off steam, and every student is so different. I mean, there are those who live for those games, and then there are those who are, waiting for that to be done so they can do something different. And my desire is that we come alongside Joe and Westside in a way that just offers additional ways to meaningfully connect with students and to have students be able to meet with other peers and connections that, like Joe's saying, help them to know that they have other friends that love Jesus and care about them. So yeah, I'm
That's
all
great.
ears for times where we can hear back from parents, work together with Westside so that we can build something that's a good fit for this year.
And it feels good we've got those two pieces kind of incorporated into the week. So Sunday nights right there at Westside, with Joe focusing on Jesus content, friendship, ways to connect, getting the cool on. And then it's every Friday night, right, Ash, that there's
Yep.
something happening with the shared youth events. And so we're hoping that we could have a few drivers come from West Side to help make that carpooling more easy. And we've got already, right, Joe, like a spreadsheet that Peter put together that lists kind of what cars are going to go, who's got space in the car, to make that as easy as possible to try and get the Sunday piece and the Friday piece connected. So we've got the local, more community-based interactions, and the larger group, big games and larger events. I think that'll be a good cadence for us as we find that rhythm these weeks ahead. Okay, Joe, any questions for us? Anything you want to ask people who are parents or youth leaders? Things like you want to get in terms of information or feedback, and you want to know,
Sure.
carte blanche. You can ask whatever you want to ask, and anyone will answer you. Our lives are an open book before you.
Sounds
And
good.
it will be recorded.
That's right.
Oh, great. I'll get to rewatch it. I guess my question is, like, do you guys have any expectations? What are your expectations? Not like how can I meet them, but like, what are some cool things that you saw in the past that you'd like to see again? And yeah, you guys can spill your beans.
That's great. Open floor. Anyone keen to just maybe unmute and kind of say one thing you might expect or hope for, let's say in this year ahead? We said to Joe before, how would he be described if the year went well? How would you talk about, the youth at West Side experience if it's gone well? What would be some words you'd hope to say about it? Yep, go for it, Peter.
I guess there's two things. One is to harken back to my own youth, which was a while ago, maybe not as long as you think. But when I was sort of 11, 12, 13, we had a Friday night youth club at the church, and it was a total riot. I mean, it very much reminds me of what seems to be going on at Mount Pleasant on a Friday. And it was, you just totally look forward to it. And we used to have tons of fun. And then there would be like a devotional sort of section to the evening. And it was such a fun blast. People would bring their non-Christian friends or their unchurched friends, put it that way, along, and all the rest of it. And then what I remember is sort of graduating out of that, growing out of that period. And then we then had a group that was 14 to 18. And I was at the younger end when that was at its peak. And we met on Sunday evenings because I don't know why, but it was Sunday evenings was when we met. And it was much more of a home, a fun element, but way more depth to the evening, because I think older teens, they want to grapple and talk through issues more, whereas younger teens, 11, 12-year-olds, they've got energy to burn and they like excitement. And I enjoyed massively both periods of time. And I just really want that type of thing for our youth. And maybe the formula is not exactly the same. I've got to be open-minded to that. But I just feel like at the moment, we've definitely got a strong young, that proportionally speaking, it feels skewed to the younger end. We struggle to find the right type of training material or study material for them. And then I'm worried that we go too much that way, and then our older youth are feeling underserved. And I think about, like, there's some faces, I don't know how old Gordon's son, but I think he's like 18, right? And I think, where does he fit into this picture? So that's one thing. I don't think there's any quick solutions, but I think we should sort of keep a vision open to that. The second thing I want to say, and I suppose it became particularly I don't know, close to heart over the summer, because it was down to Romy and I over the summer to sort of like we had a series of youth events, and this may be like consistently 8 to 10, 12 that would come, and we'd hang out at the park by the church, or we went to the beach, or we went for ice cream and stuff like that. And there was this intimacy within the group, this familiarity of this group, and they just wanted to hang out. Like when we went to the beach, it's meant to be a volleyball evening, and there were no volleyball courts available. So we made our own version of volleyball using the big logs, and like they all had a riot and really enjoyed it. And I guess there was that intimacy of that group, and I don't know, like that just seems like something to really build on. And yeah, so just something to think about. I think that it's great to have Joe on board. I think, and I see the new leaders, Dan and Gordon, Sam coming back. It just gives us so much depth and strength to I just feel like I feel so encouraged that so many things are coming together. And the biggest thing, sorry, just while I'm on the encouraged, I mean, just the amazing thing was Hallie getting baptized the other week, and Dan was there. Both Dans were there, and her testimony, like, it was just amazing to hear. As you feel like sometimes you're not achieving a great deal. Like last year, we were hunting around. Dan Matheson knows this. We were hunting around, trying to find the right type of material, how to engage. And there's this 14-year-old, I think she's 14 or something, standing up and saying, like, we made church far more approachable for her. Like that, and we were just a small link in the chain that led her to being a Christian. And it's just a solid reminder that, there is a God's plan here, and we don't need to get it perfect. God's Spirit's engaging with these kids in ways that we have no idea and may never really understand. But yeah, so those are my comments.
That's so helpful. I can hear that too, of the older, younger kids, they need different things for energy and for content, the need for local hangouts, and the deeply motivating thing of seeing faith click. I totally hear all those things. Those are great things to lay out for us. Others for kind of hopes or expectations you want to offer to Joe or for all of us?
One way of articulating one of my hopes, which will seem maybe obvious, is I'd love, and I don't doubt this will happen, but I'd love for the relationships that are forged between Joe and the young people, and the levels of trust that are built, to be something that's just really cherished by the young people, to the point where, one day when Joe moves on to become a mega church pastor or whatever he's going to do, but there'll be tears shed, and there'll be a real sense of loss. I would love for that level of trust and relationship and family to be built, that when Joe's not there, Joe's missed, and when young people aren't there, they're missed. I think that's what I think will, that depth is totally possible, and I think that's what will hold a lot of young people in their faith, actually, and hopefully be great encouragement to you as well, Joe.
That's great. And Joe, don't worry, Dan's an easy cry, so we're gonna get him. He'll be cheerful.
100%.
That's good.
I just got here, so don't worry, I'm not leaving.
That's great. No, the idea of connection and deep bond, I echo that too. Sonia, Afonso, any thoughts? I thought I saw me. Yeah, go ahead, Sonia.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Sonia. I am brand new to 10th West Side. we've only been there twice. And we haven't even brought our kids yet. I have 5 of them. And the oldest just turned 13 and the youngest is 6 months. So, and the reason that we are interested actually and what attracts us to 10th West Side is the kids program. And like somebody said, when it was time for kids Sunday school, it's like all of these little ants came out from the cracks and the crevices. I don't even know where they came from because they weren't there when I got there. And so, you know, I think just echoing a lot of what Peter and Daniel both just talked about, you know, the relationship, the relational aspect of it is a priority, a big priority for us. And, you know, I look back on my own childhood and like Peter, I was part of a Friday night youth group. And I think that experience, it was a wonderful experience. And the sense of belonging that I had from that and how it built my identity carried me into college. I was swept up by InterVarsity and then I never looked back. But I think it was those foundational years in the youth group that really influenced my decision to be a part of a faith community in college. And that is what I would love for my children, is for them to develop these friendships while they're young so that they identify as you know, Christians in a Christian community and then desire that when they go to, you know, when they graduate from high school. And then the other thing that I would just love to see is a real just getting down and dirty with the word, like for them to know the word of God. And, you know, I'm finding that in my adulthood, I'm drawing on verses that I memorized as a child that I didn't even understand, but now they mean something to me. And I think that, you know, just goes to show the truth of the word and how it's, you know, it's our bread and our life. And I really want to impart that to my children. And I think that equips them and it protects them. So yeah, real focus on the word of God as well. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, Sonia. And right now, even like our sermon series is on resilient faith. How do we have a faith that lasts, that perseveres? And I think we'd all love to see that for our students, not just have a good experience for 3 or 5 years, but that it carries them forward for their whole lives, sets them up well. And hoping that those scriptures keep reverberating in their lives. Alfonso, over to you. Any hope or expectation?
I'm also very new in this community, so it was also my second time last Sunday. But I want to share the joy of hearing what Joe already have heard, especially about these 2 focuses in evangelism and prayer. Well, I resonate with everything that you all told about have fun, but prayer and evangelism, they are very powerful words, and I am very happy to hear that. Is that the youth that shared with you this interest, or how did you get these 2 words, Joe? But independent of your response, I want to just to encourage, these are very powerful focus. And my last words were, when I saw a youth leader in Brazil last summer, he told me that one of the most powerful ways to disciple, to see youth grow, is by outreach, thinking of giving them responsibilities to share the gospel. So it's amazing to hear what you are eager to do and to see. And count on me in prayers, in support, in friendship. I'm very glad to hear. Thank you.
Thanks, Alfonso. To respond to your question, this past Sunday, I asked the question of what would you like to learn in a year by the end of the academic year, and I heard the cries of the youth saying, here, I've got them specifically written down. I'll just pull up a few. But I encapsulated them as prayer and evangelism. So so like, how would others see Jesus? How to pray when we don't know what to say. And yeah, a lot of how to pray, how to reflect Christian faith in conversation, how to tell others about God without being awkward.
Nice.
And there's more, but the gist of it is prayer and evangelism. So yeah, I'm glad to engage with them on this journey, and I hear you guys, and I really hope to develop deep relationship with these youth, and really to teach them Jesus and engrave that on their hearts and on their lives, so that where they go, people may be curious about their identity in him.
That's good. Now we're close for time. Any last questions for Joe or for Lyra about kind of either themselves or about things at 10th West Side, or we've got Ash on the call too. So things about youth at the whole of 10th. Any questions for our final minutes here? The floor is open. Feel free to lob it.
I think
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted
Oh,
to
go ahead.
add, that I just want Joe and Lyra to feel like they're allowed to take some time, just to feel like as they are following God's leading and building that relationship, and just little layers, just to feel really encouraged that they can watch for what God's doing, and yeah, that we support them. I want for you, Joe, to feel like as you figure out how the local events with the central events, like how that balances, I want you to feel like month to month you can experiment with that. And maybe 1 month you think it's going to look one way, and the next month we say, let's try it this way. So I want it to be a really safe season for you to feel like you get to try things and experiment, and then make different decisions after that. That's the best part, when we get to create something together. Yeah, so I'm hopeful and excited.
That's a good word, experiment. Peter, what was your thought there?
It's more general. I'm just sort of wondering what your thoughts are on sort of recruitment for particularly female leaders. I feel we're very male heavy at the moment.
You have no idea
Exclusively male.
how ironic that is, because
I know, isn't it?
another, our main setting, I have the exact opposite. So it's, yeah.
Can we do a prisoner exchange or something? I don't know.
Exactly. Exactly.
I was going to say a transfer window, Peter. We're just transferring.
And
We'll sell you Dan Whitehead for 3 million. That's a bargain. In this day and age, that's a
This is
bargain.
being recorded.
I would even add that it is very refreshing to see so many male leaders, because the majority of my kids' teachers at school are women. So I think it's really important actually for them to experience strong Christian male leaders and teachers. And also there's like 5 different accents right in this room, which is amazing.
It's true. And the good thing is like that Ash has already been so involved with Westside, and she'll continue to be involved with Ash. I mean with Westside, but we don't want to put all that weight on Ash to represent half the planet. So we definitely want to figure out how we can draw up some more female leaders. In the past, we've had female representation every year. This is our first time having a bit of a gap. So I think you're right, Peter. We talked about this even earlier, right, Joe? About how do we try and figure out the right sort of people to come on board, while at the same time saying that we've got to a strong base. Like we're not floundering here where we've got no one to help Joe out. We've got a great support team. So how to make that an ideal support team. So that helps. Yeah, we hear you, Peter, for sure. We have time for maybe 2 more questions.
Put him to bed. He's really tired. Oh.
Any other thoughts? We all feel like we've answered the things we need to have answered. That's good. That's a great place to be, where things line up and they make sense. Well, what if we kind of end with a question of prayer? Joe and Lyra, what's a prayer that you have for the students? What's something that you want to kind of inhabit for the season ahead on their behalf? And then how about us for you? So, we talked about before on Sunday with all this newness that you've got. We want to be committed to praying for you. What could an ongoing prayer for the 2 of you look like? 2 bits: a prayer for the youth and a prayer for yourselves, and then we'll close by actually praying.
Do you want a collective answer from both of us or one each?
Absolutely collective from both of you. Yeah.
Okay, how about I do the students, you do us? Okay, because that makes sense. Okay, a prayer request for the students. Our weeks are governed by a secular society. And we just have this minimum time together to help impact youth as leadership. And I want youth to come in with open hearts to hear about Jesus and just come in with a sense of curiosity, with authenticity of who they are, and be ready to engage. Yeah, I would really like for us to impact them and for them to be to have eyes and ears open and ready, and hearts, of course. So
It's great. Like that. How about for you, Lyra? A prayer for you 2 as a couple.
For us, I would say kind of with all these waves of change that we're kind of experiencing, they're exciting, but we would pray that God might be and Jesus might be our anchor, and that we might not be overwhelmed by the waves and pulled out into the deep sea, but that we might be anchored by Jesus.
Beautiful. It's a strong image. Well, hey, we're here not just because we care about the youth, but we want to be committed to you guys too. So we're not just saying, hey, here's all our students, go for it. But together as a group, we want to raise a community that can reflect the love of God. And I think even by being here in this space to try and talk together and discuss it, we set the parameters for how to do this well. So thanks, friends, for being here. Thanks, Joe and Lyra, for saying yes to this call. Let me pray for us as we end tonight. Jesus, we do echo Joe's prayer that the students in our community would be open, that their hearts would be soft and ready and malleable, that your spirit would be weaving in curiosity in their lives, that they'd be looking and wondering about how their lives work, how the world works, how your scriptures work, and that curiosity would lead them to an exploration. And we think that you've said that those who would seek, those who would ask, those who would knock would encounter you. And would that be true for our youth that come to Westside, that they would encounter the life of God, and that would change their very constitution as people. Give Joe, give the youth leaders, give the parents, give our whole community wisdom to know how we might be able to create an environment where faith can be alive, where it can flourish, where your spirit has free and open access to us. And we do ask for your blessing to be on Joe and Lyra as a couple, that amidst all this new change, that they'd sense that your spirit is cementing them together, And like Lyra said, that you'd be an anchor for them, that you would plant them deeply in a place that's secure and established, and that they'd feel safe in each other, safe in you, God, that your spirit would protect them and provide for them amidst the many challenges that will be ahead, that you will secure them and buffet them amidst these many storms that might be in the future. We trust you, God, to build our lives, to build our church, to build all things towards your good purposes, and use us to do it. We ask it in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
And can I
Amen.
just
Thanks,
share?
friends. Oh, yeah.
Can I just share when you're praying there? I just got a really just a strong sense of vision of a sapling tree being transplanted from the nursery pot that a tree grows in into firm, where it's going to really allow its roots to grow up and for the tree to grow into the mighty tree. And I just got this really strong vision of that, and I just wanted to share that.
Beautiful. Thanks, Peter.
Thanks.
I thought it fits us, right? We've got a good thing going, and we're getting set up for something really beautiful, something meaningful. Thanks, folks. I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording if I know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. Let's end the call, I guess.